the autumn of 1942, a group of federal agents began knocking on doors in a quiet corner of eastern Tennessee. They gave the farmers of Bear Creek Valley a choice that wasn't a choice. Take a government check and leave within 48 hours, or stay and watch the fences go up around you. Within weeks, 60,000 acres of farmland were swallowed by the Manhattan Project. By 1945, a city had risen from the mud, a city that didn't exist on any map, consumed more electricity than New York City, and was surrounded by a high-voltage perimeter fence. This was Oak Ridge, the secret city. For 80 years, the narrative of Oak Ridge was settled. It was the place that enriched the uranium for Little Boy. It was a triumph of American logistics. But in March 2026, the story changed. A routine digitization of the Atomic Energy Commission's classified logistics logs revealed a series of discrepancies. While the world knew about X10, Y12, and K25, the logs repeatedly referenced a fourth location, a sector that was never on the public blueprints, a place referred to only as Zone C. According to the 2026 leaks, Zone C wasn't for uranium enrichment. It wasn't for plutonium research. It was an isolation facility built 4 stories beneath the Bear Creek bedrock, shielded by 6 feet of lead-reinforced concrete. Tonight, we ask the question the Department of Energy has ignored for nearly a century. If Oak Ridge was built to build a bomb, what was Zone C built to contain? To the thousands of Calutron girls and engineers who lived there, Oak Ridge was a wartime Mayberry. It had bowling alleys, tennis courts, and swing dances. But this normalcy was a thin veil over a culture of total paranoia. Every resident over the age of 12 was required to wear an ID badge at all times. Using words like atomic or uranium was a fireable offense. Even the children were taught to report suspicious questions from their neighbors. But while the Calutron girls monitored the dials in the light of the massive Y12 plant, a different group of specialists was being funneled into the hills of the Bear Creek Valley under the cover of night. These were the residents of Zone C. Unlike the rest of Oak Ridge, Zone C was not made of the famous alphabet houses. It was a cluster of windowless concrete bunkers. These weren't homes. They were laboratory units designed for anomalous biological interaction. For decades, the names of the people stationed in Zone C were scrubbed from the national census. However, a 2026 FOIA request uncovered a series of special health logs from 1945. These logs detail a group of inhabitants who were never seen at the local grocery stores. They were children, specifically children who had been identified by military recruiters for having atypical neurological responses to high-frequency sound. The project was allegedly called the Lunch for Literacy program, but the 2026 leak suggests it was a front for something far more sinister. The first human trials of radiation-induced psychic phenomena. The most shocking revelation came from a 1947 report recently unearthed in the National Archives. Scientists at the X-10 graphite reactor had attempted a radical experiment, sending subatomic particles through a barrier to transform them into mirror particles. In modern physics, this is the search for dark matter. But in 1944, at Zone C, the goal was more terrifyingly practical: communication with a parallel grid. They believed that the high-energy environment of Oak Ridge had thinned the fabric of reality in Tennessee. In March 2026, the Department of Energy initiated the K-25 modernization project. They claimed they were clearing the land for a new solar farm, but local contractors reported something the official press releases ignored. When the excavators hit the foundations of the old Zone C bunkers, the machinery started to malfunction in ways that defy physics. Digital clocks ran backwards. GPS signals placed the workers 3 miles out into the Atlantic Ocean. And then there were the echoes, audio recordings captured by security that featured voices speaking a dialect of English that hasn't been heard in the Appalachians since the late 18th century. As of this week, a 5-mile no-fly zone has been established over the Bear Creek Valley. The government cites soil contamination, but satellite imagery tells a different story. Heavy-duty seismic vibration dampeners, the kind used to stabilize earthquake zones, are being trucked into the site by the dozen. These aren't tools for demolition, they are tools for containment. Whatever the 1940 scientists opened in Zone C, it appears the 2026 crews have accidentally invited it back. We have obtained 3 minutes of audio from a security radio near the Alpha 2 basement, recorded just 48 hours ago. The audio features a rhythmic, low-frequency thumping, like a heartbeat, interspersed with what sounds like a young girl humming a 1940 swing tune. But there were no children on site, and there was no power running to that sector of the city. Oak Ridge was built to end a war, but Zone C was built to start a new understanding of existence. If the 2026 modernization efforts are actually a cover-up for a containment failure, we are looking at the greatest scientific scandal of the century. Is it possible that the Manhattan Project didn't just build a bomb, but a doorway? And if so, who is coming through it? In our next investigation, we speak to a former Oak Ridge security guard who claims to have seen shadows walking through walls in the Y-12 complex just days before the site was sealed. If you want to see the leaked perimeter footage, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. The secret city is no longer keeping its secrets. This is Chronicle Zero.